Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of LANCESCURV. It's been a crazy last 24 hours. So many things happening out in the world, and it seems to be happening at such a fast pace. But then again, there's a dilemma where we ask ourselves, the argument is it that it's happening at a fast pace, or do we have access? Right? I mean, do we have more access because of social media, the phones being in our hands, our face being in the phones? So as soon as something happens, we see it, or somebody sends it to us. That might be partially correct, but I still think that things are happening because before we had access to smartphones and social media, these lightning fast ways of getting information out, it still came out anyway. It may have been delayed. The newspaper, the news, the nightly news. But the news can only report but so much. And we have specialized sites like TMZ, Media Takeout. And you know TMZ can't stand Media Takeout because Media Takeout's like the black TMZ. And they pretty much stay on it. But things are happening so fast. And it makes one want to just climb up in the mountain somewhere under some trees and hide. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going to do soon, but I'm going to continue to do my work. But it's like the older you get, you know, things should kind of slow down a little bit, at least by choice. But we stay locked in, we stay engaged. We want to hear the next conversation. We want to see the next thing that's happening. Even before it happens, we're going on these sites and we're looking for it. We're looking for it. Did the bomb drop yet? Did Putin throw a nuke yet? Did so-and-so get so-and-so pregnant yet? Who's sleeping with who? Who's gay? Who's LGBTQ? We're like rodents. We're like rats. We're like maggots, sniffing around for the next thing. But yet and still, our individual lives are going to hell. Not all of us. I don't mean actually hell. It's just that it's just so dysfunctional. That's why I say, and I titled this show, it's complicated. Because that's a term that most of us, I wonder when was the first time you saw that? Probably on Facebook. When they say relationship status, it's complicated. Is it complicated, or is it that you just don't want to face the dynamics of a dysfunctional relationship, so you smear it over and say it's complicated? It kind of seems like you don't want to deal with it. That's the way it seems to me. I mean, nothing can always fit in a perfect box, but to me, it's like, we had the traditional way of doing things. And let me tell you something. Dirt was going on back in the day, big time. But now it's like, we don't want to face it. Listen, we had people cheating on each other. We had people in relationships where they're both cheating and they come home and pretend that they're in a relationship. We have relationships where one person cheats and the other one doesn't have a clue. And there's a nervous breakdown when they find out. We have down low brothers back then in the day. It was gay stuff going on, and the man would go home to his wife. You had down low lesbians. You have just as much of those who are married and have lesbian relationships right up under the nose of their husband. You might want to join in, who knows? Crazy world. But that's the way it is. So it's not that it's complicated. It's just that you don't want to sort it out. It's just that you don't want to face it. Why are we like this? Why are we so comfortable with dysfunction? It doesn't just mean our relationships, and I focus on male-female relationships because all other types of relationships, they try to emulate things. And what do I mean by that? Well, you have a woman who, she's with a man, cheats on her, makes babies on the outside on her, brings home STDs, doesn't want to earn the money or try to work, even if he makes less than her. I'm not saying these men are dogs. I'm just piling it all on to make a point. And so you have the woman say, she'll say, you know what? I'm sick and tired of dealing with these men, because probably she had a bad relationship before. And I'm going to go to women now. Well, she had it in her, for her to say that, an apple doesn't turn into an orange overnight like that. And then she gets into something with a woman and finds that the other woman she's dealing with is cheating on her, probably lazy and don't want to do anything and use them. Bring her home some STDs. The only thing she can't do as a lesbian is make a baby on the outside. But it's crazy. Yes, Deborah Costin. Yes, I see you there. Let me acknowledge everybody inside the room. She's on Facebook, so you can't really see her if you're on YouTube. Brother Kwame, Malika Aziz. Yes. I'm not. Let me know, brother, if you want to say anything. I'm just a phone call away. I can pipe you in. Sweet D, Tammy Ivy, Sharina. I'm glad you're all here. This is a freestyle. And most of my shows are freestyle anyway. But it's not just couples. And yeah, you can call in. I will pipe you in. Let me just make sure that this Bluetooth is connected. I don't care what platform you're calling in, you can call in. You're going to do it like that. And let me know if the music is too loud. I have a little bit that keeps me kind of pace, gives me a little pace, But anyway, this can go on into our families. And if we're a couple in a complicated relationship, it would never be complicated if we came up in a family who wanted to face their differences and potential dysfunctions. So this is why, as a man or as a woman, you better check up under that hood really, really good when you meet somebody new. Because it seems to always be where things work out so beautifully and you're in bliss and you found the perfect person. Even though we know it's not perfect, it feels that way. There's nothing about them wrong. And then you start to see the cracks in the armor. And some of us will say, let me ignore that. I just want to remain in bliss. I just want to keep this thing going on. But nobody's perfect, and you will find imperfections. The issue is if they want to work on themselves. Now, nobody is perfect as far as their physical being. I mean, we get older, things start to sag, things turn gray, things don't defy gravity like they did before. See, things hang down to the knees, and that goes in as far as men and women. But we can't avoid that. We can slow it down a bit, but we can't avoid that. That's why we can't get too much into the superficial in that aspect of things, because beauty fades. It's about what's in the inside of the person, those intangible attributes. And if all you can see is the physical, you're doomed. That's nice, but you got to look up under the hood. And that's very important to do. But you have to also investigate the families of those who you're looking to get involved with, right? Very, very important. Because they set the rhythm and the tone for that individual psyche that you're getting involved with. So in essence, you're marrying into a family. Even if that woman or that man who you're dating and interested in getting deeper into, if they're not speaking to them, still the rhythm has been set. You ever see how they have these horse races, right? I know they have different types of horse races. I don't know much about them, but they have this long bar that goes across, and there's a car that it has this bar going across, and it keeps the horses even as they move off from the starting line, and it drives off fast. It sets the tone. It sets the rhythm. And so you better know how that woman or that man got along with their father, their mother, if they had, or caretakers, ones who brought them up. Could be an aunt, could be a grandmother. But you better know. And you better not ask. Don't ask. You're not going to get a good answer, because they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Not to say that they're deceptive, But pretty much those who have had complicated lives and grew up in dysfunctional families, they've learned to move on code. You see, because dysfunctional families, dysfunctional people, which we all been touched. Let me just let you know that I'm not speaking from a place of being condescending, but I think I pretty much have my head together after all I've been through. And I thank the Creator that He gave me the household that I grew up in. Very minimal, intrusive incidents of dysfunction. And I'm very public about it. The only dysfunction in my family was my brother, who was older than me by 11 years. He was always on drugs. We had different fathers. And that had a lot to do with it, because his father wasn't that much. My father came into the picture, hard-working man from Jamaica, old school, not a clown, and set the record straight. And so that's where I believe the rift happened. But that's not my father's fault for being a good man. Oh, let me just say, we have good men out here who marry into a ready-made family, if you want to call it that. I'm just throwing these things out before I get down to the real nitty-gritty. This is not going to be a 6-hour show. And I have things set up right now on the computer, ready to go up right after this is over. Ready-made families. You go and you find somebody who has these attributes. They may have young children. They may have teenagers. They might have grown children. But there's something there existing before you stepped in. And I don't want to sound harsh today, but I'm going to speak it this way. You're moving into a situation where you're taking care of another man's DNA, another man's rhythm, function, energy. And of course, lots of times, these individuals who are the offspring of that lady that you're looking to deal with, and this goes for the ladies dealing with a man, everything I say goes for both sexes. And so now there's going to be a resistance from those children, teenagers or grown children. Just like when you try to replace a bad heart with a new heart, it may reject it. That body may reject that new heart. Even though it needs a heart, it may reject it. So there's certain drugs that they give you to make the transition easier so you can have that heart. But why would you want to do it that way? You don't want to force anything. You're not their father, but you are a father because you stand in that position of fatherhood. And this is where most of us get it twisted. We can't expect those children to love us because they already have their feelings toward their father if they know their father. And sometimes, like that heart that's rejected, they try to accept you with their head, but their heart can't do it because their allegiance is to their father, as it should be. But what makes it painful is he's not there. Possibly he didn't do the right thing. Possibly those children saw him beat up on the mother. Possibly the children saw him out in the world cheating and heard about it from their classmates. So here you come as a good guy trying to do the right thing, and you catch years of pure hell, unappreciated, walking into a dysfunctional situation that woman didn't tell you about. Or do you expect her to? She wants you. You're a good guy. Far better than what she had before. You're an upgrade. But even she has her hangups. So what I'm saying is that all of us out here, we can spot these things in other people, but what about the things that we had to go through? What about the dysfunctions that we may have, large or small, and we can smear it over and say, it's complicated? That person who made that term up should be dipped in feces and shot for stinking. Why? Because it makes it so easy to brush something over, because when we hear this term, we accept it. That should be a flare. That should be a call of action to say, hey, ho, 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 ho. I'm not calling anybody a ho. I'm just saying, hey, ho, hold up. Complicated. Well, if I'm going to get involved with you, we need to know what these complications are. That's like signing on the dotted line of a contract for employment, for purchasing a new car, for purchasing a home. Let's just say it's a new car, and there's one little box down there that says, we have 100 more stipulations in this contract, but it's complicated. It doesn't matter. Check the box. No, show me these different stipulations so I know what I'm getting into. And you personally, are you ready? Are you complicated, bringing something toxic into something that's okay, or pretty much a healed up situation? Isn't that something? We don't always really take that look at ourselves in the mirror. But back in the 70s, Teddy Pendergrass had that song, "You can't hide from yourself." Doom, 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 doom. Come on, y'all. Oh, okay, brother Malik. You want me to call you? You want to come on? Okay, cool. I didn't see that. I was kind of ranting on. Let me see. Let me make sure that I'm connected to my module here first, and then we'll move forward, brother, because it's always a pleasure, always an honor as we speak. Let me check this out now. Okay, let me hit this button. Should be connected. Let me just check my settings. Let me check my settings, make sure so we don't have any technical difficulties here. Okay, it's connected. I think I'm gonna call you on, I'm not gonna put it out public, but I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you right now, brother. This phone is so slow. Okay. Why do they have things popping up on the phone where you have to push? I'm trying to, okay, here we go. Brother Malik. I know you got something to say. I'm glad you're here. I know you got a whole lot to say. I'm ringing your phone now, brother. Hopefully this works. Okay, I can hear it.
Hello?
Yes, brother Malik, you're on live. Let me just say, because I'm doing the show and everything. What I'm going to do is ask everybody in the chat room if they can hear Brother Malik. And what I'm going to do is also remove this background music just in case it's a distraction. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, chat room family, let me know if you can hear Brother Malik's voice. Brother Malik, how are you doing this morning?
Yes, sir.
You good?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man.
Yes.
I'm out here with my talkative self. I can't keep my mouth shut. I'm like Muhammad Ali. I've got to run my mouth every chance I get. But anyway, good to hear you, brother. You have anything? You
very good Ali expression.
Oh, you like? I've been doing it for years, man. I can do Ali when he was older with the ailment. I can do him young. I can do any, I'm going to actually, as a footnote before we move on, I'm going to do a Muhammad Ali channel on YouTube, right? Nobody's going to know it's me. It'll be like 1 minute, 2 minute little snippets of Muhammad Ali talking about what's happening in the world today. It's going to be funny. I'm also going to do Mike Tyson because he's very important in this whole thing because he's alive right now and he had so much respect for Muhammad Ali.
That's a very good Mike Tyson. Maybe you're looking at the LANCESCURV stand up.
I have a comedic side to me. You know that. Like I had you laughing in the last conversation. We spoke about Home Depot. I won't say. But anyway. What do you think about this? I didn't really go in all the way yet, but what do you feel about this term? It's complicated. What do you feel about these dysfunctional relationships? You're a man, so your experiences with women, you're not going to dog the women, but you have maybe something to add in. Just as women who have gone through certain things, but you move on. And I will say that you are a catch. I'm not just stroking you. You know, you have your act together in life, and I respect you for that. But you're not also going to just take stuff from anybody just because the physical needs. So talk to me about these relationships, wherever you want to start, because it's not just about the male and the female. It could be family relationships, work relationships, friendships. There's all kind of strange things going on right now in the modern day that we just didn't have before, although certain things were around before. 2023 is a weird place to be, isn't it? Talk to me, brother.
Yeah, I think a good place to start would be to kind of reform the conversation.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is it's less interpersonal.
Okay.
And more from a 30,000 foot level that we need to address this situation, right? So I argue, you know, for my platform of DAO-23, the National Black United Front, and its late and great former Chairman Emeritus, Dr. Conrad Worrell, our struggle for the minds of Black people.
Right.
Now, with that as a construct, the key crisis in Black life is the cultural crisis. Unless we reclaim our Africanness, we will continue to live in a subculture that was heaped upon us vis-a-vis slavery, vis-a-vis Jim Crow, and vis-a-vis post-Ronald Reagan.
Great point.
Which puts us right where we are. Right now. Inside of the key crisis being the cultural crisis and the reclaiming of our Africanness, all that matters around that is Black male-female relationships. This is where it shows up. Our scholars need to ignore in this age of social media. And let me just say this. Somebody clicking on a video of Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Yosef Zinian knocking on, et cetera, and watching it for 45 minutes or an hour, and then trying to repeat and mimic what they heard that, you know, kind of struck their fancy. It's not researched. It is not study. Malcolm said that out of all of our studies, history best rewards our research. Out of all of our studies, history best rewards our research. Now, so we have to get back to reading. Back in the 1980s and 90s, Black bookstores were flourishing in this country.
Oh, yes.
So it was during the height of our consciousness and the Black Power movement during the 1950s and 1960s and culminated in the 1970s. Black people were reading books. Why we must read? Because when you read, we begin to think about how do we solve our problems. Analyzation comes, critical thinking comes out of reading. So many pluses to begin to solve problems. So in this age of social media, we're being dumbed down, right? And hence the rise of people like Tasha Kent. And I can go on and on with this kind of stuff, right? Now, these people are not scholars. They don't have libraries. Since when did we not lean on our scholars? Post-slavery, we've always leaned on our scholars to come up with a solution as we are in crisis mode. Dr. Du Bois, his fervence in the 1910s and 1920s, all the way through the Fifth Pan-African Congress, pushing ideas, was pushing scholarship, pushing academia, Paul Robeson, right? When did we get away from this, right? So this is Malcolm said he read everything in the prison library while he was there. And when he emerged, nobody could deal with that. Why? Had his research. So we've gotten away from that. And by getting away from that, there's a utter disrespect of scholarship and scholars. So to understand how to address this situation and come up with solutions from a 30,000 foot level, key crisis, I maintain, key crisis in Black life today is the culture crisis. Inside of that sub-construct is what? Black male-female relationships. How do we get here? If we don't understand how do we get here, we cannot analyze and come up with the critical thinking of how to solve our problem.
Yes.
Right? Read the works of Dr. Oba Tashaka, The Integration Trap, The Generation Gap, where he goes into Dr. Tashaka, professor emeritus at San Francisco State University, one of the leading organizers of our people over the last 40 years, basically going unknown, right? In this piece, Dr. Tashaka goes into a case study of the breakdown of the Black family. One of the things that he maintains, because I'm on a pause before I talk about his research, but one of the things that we cannot discuss is the interpersonal relationships, the black male-female relationships, without looking at what caused us to get here in the first place. This is a new phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Homosexuality in the Black community to the levels that it is right now, where male on male and female on female, this is a new phenomenon. Okay? Fatherless homes, this is a new phenomenon. This Dr. Tashaka in his research documents that even through slavery, up until post Jim Crow, the late 1960s, the Black family was intact. He used Detroit as a case study for his research. In 1967, in Detroit, Michigan, 82% of all Black families own their own homes, and 83% of all Black families have two-parent households. That number is flipped upside down today. There's your problem. Now, to understand those statistics in 1967, we have to understand one of the key components that got us in that situation. And just in a relatively short period of time, really the next generation, that whole situation begins to unravel, right? Just look at it yourself. I mean, you were alive during this period. What happened? 1961, we go to New York City, and something significant happened that would affect how we look at the Black family moving forward, that affects us today. And what was that? It was somebody will say, wow, I had no idea. The breakdown of the garment industry, which was heavily unionized. You had Black workers, you had other minority workers who had unionized, and they were demanding and getting big hourly wages. Right? So in 1961, if you go prior to 1961, all the way back, all of the clothes in the United States, if you look at the labels on a suit in the 1940s and 1950s and the early 1960s, it said made in the USA, made in New York, made in Chicago, at the Barrel Center, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The garment industry made a move that would affect how economics and wages would be distributed moving forward that affect the Black family. They parted their labor overseas. So by the exploitation of labor, now those clothes are being made in the Philippines, they're being made in South Asia, Southeast Asia, etc., Malaysia. Drove the cost of labor significantly down. The garment industry was destroyed, and guess what happened? As a model, a business model, the steel industry followed. The auto industry followed. You get where I'm going with this?
Yeah, a domino effect.
By the late 1970s, not only are we sitting on high inflation in this country, 13, 14%, but we're sitting on high Black unemployment. Like, look at the unemployment numbers in the 1950s and 1960s of usually Black people, and compare those with the late 1970s and the 1980s. Really shocked, right? So this effect of the economic shift vis-a-vis labor in the United States, killed the working class family. In the killing of the working class family, there was some external forces that began to that continue attack on the black infrastructure and black people. And during the Nixon administration, during the Ford administration, and moving forward, you saw the rise of the welfare system, and you also saw the rise of the subcomponent of that, taking the black man out of the household, which was what? It was the foster care system. So for the first time, for the first time in our history, going all the way back to 400 years of slavery, we now see the warehousing of black children. Okay, the warehousing of black children in foster care, in the foster care system, which is cold, unemotional. You know where I'm going vis-a-vis black male-female relationships with this?
Yeah.
So here we are, sitting at the product of two negative entities that came out of this, right? The coldness of the emotions of black children who now are what? Black fathers, black mothers, black grandmothers, and black grandfathers, right? The second piece of that is the lack of an example of the family structure, the give and take in relationships, how relationships are done, the compromises that are necessary to keep the family together, the nomenclature of that kids pick up from their families that they will employ later on in their adulthood that will make their families run. We had that in place for 400 years and it went away. In our lifetime, this is what we saw, and this is what we're seeing, right? But actually, to this point of this lack of nomenclature, that we just don't know how to do relationships because they weren't there. I grew up in a all-black town, 2 stoplights, 6,000 people. Everybody from the mayor down to the guy who cut the grass was black. It was a self-sufficient, independent black town, right? With our own economy in the state of Illinois, 30 miles outside of Chicago. This town had 4 black gas stations that were in 4 black gas stations between 2 stoplights, 6,000 black people.
Wow.
Grocery stores, skating rinks, ice cream shops, our own library system. Pre-K through 8. My 3rd grade teacher was a PhD. Listen, in the state of Illinois today, from Waukegan in the north all the way down to East St. Louis in the south, there's only 4 black gas stations. You see what I just said?
Oh, man.
So going back to warehousing of black kids, read the works of Dr. Shaka, also read the works of Dr. Wanga Jufu, early 80s, The Conspiracy to Destroy Little Black Boys. Serious scholarship around this issue. Read the works of Dr. Molessia Fronte as he talks about African culture. So this is where I'm going when I talk about solutions, right? Now, the warehousing of black children. This is what exists in our community, trying to get mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers. They don't even know how to do it. Why they don't know how to do it? It's not their fault. They're victims, yes, but look how they were trained up. All right? The town that I grew up in the 1960s and 1970s, on my block, there were 28 houses. 27 of them, mother and father in the house, working class community. The only house that didn't have a father in it, he passed away. You can't even duplicate anything that looks like that in the black community. And there's a why to that.
You grew up in
Understand
heaven.
where we are today.
Right.
But this is essential. I would argue that this is essential throughout Black America. I talked about Detroit, 3.5 hours away. Right? It was essential there. It was essential in Flint. First all the way through the mid-1980s until what? That business model that was used in the garment industry in New York City in 1961 was adopted. Chrysler closed, GM closed. Out of job, brothers on the street. Where happens that, man?
Man.
So how do we begin to correct this? And remember, I'm still at the 30,000 foot level. I wrote a book on Black love back in 2009. It was published. You look it up on Amazon, get a copy. It's out of print. So a plethora of copies. Anyway, it's all of a conscious. And in the piece, one of the things I talked about as we get to the solution phase of my conversation, I pointed out the problem, the solution phase. There must be an honest and sincere integration of African people on the African continent with the rest of the African diaspora, particularly the diaspora portion that's in the United States. The African diaspora in the United States who call themselves niggas, who are not niggas, who are African people, must integrate sincerely with our brothers and sisters on the African continent, be they from the Airway tribe, be they from the Ashanti, be they from the Amazigh, the Sufia. There must be an integration. There must be an actual love fest that takes place in order for the healing of the African diaspora that's in the United States.
Yes.
It's generational. We're literally going to lose a generation in order to merge a healthy people. So as we talk about, bull daggers and dykes and fags and sissies, talk about black men being simps and pussies. When does a black man turn into a pussy to his woman as he has done today? When?
I know.
Never. And she doesn't respect us for that, brothers. You out there listening. So, the crisis in Black life is a culture crisis. As a subset to that, there must be, and I'm calling for a national conference to deal with Black male-female relationships. I've reached out to Dr. Obitashaka and others who could carry this conversation from a scholarship, academia perspective, as opposed to what you see on social media with these social media stars who, oh, by the way, they're just the rappers from the 1980s and 1990s. Did you see their behavior? Remember when rap started, what were they doing? They were talking about each other, right? Remember that? You remember that? All they did was talk about each other.
Uh-huh.
Right? Yeah. So they're in the phase of just talking about each other, right? And then they moved to the phase where, okay, now they got the foundation built, i.e. followers, right? And subscriptions. And then swooped in who? Who swooped in the mid-1990s and took over rap?
Oh, we know the corporate.
The same people own Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Paul P. Diddy now. They're the one that flourished that gangster rap garbage. So, that's why you see Ice-T and Ice Cube on mainstream TV doing 7-Up commercials. It's not an accident. Yeah. Revolutionary mind. I own you.
Taking marching orders.
Encourages listen to the audience. The last thing before I cut out, and I answer any questions for you, but this is the last thing I can get off this monologue.
Oh, man,
we really need to get to dialogue.
No, you brought something so valuable. There's no way I could have put that together like you.
But the last thing I'll say is this. We're calling for a national conference on Black male-female relationships to deal with the subset of the key crisis in Black life, which is the culture crisis. And we must get back to the library. Don't engage me in debate. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then this is going to send you to the corner, and you won't say nothing else. And the two questions I'm going to ask you are, what books are you reading, and what period are you reading from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sit down and shut up. You're going to tell me that the many works of Dr. Obitashaka, Dr. Conrad World, Dr. Anderson Thompson, Dr. Ivor Carruthers, all of that work today. I disrespect a scholarship and an academic revolutionary warriors is at a height that we've never visited before in this country in our struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can continue to watch YouTube videos all they want and talk about you, the prince of Pan-Africanism and stuff like that. We're not even understanding what happened in 1945 at the Fifth Pan-African Congress affected the year of Africa in 1960 and also affected what took place at Casablanca in 1961. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you don't read.
That's right.
Or what I just said. And break that down so you can understand it. Go to the library and read if you can't afford books online. Order some books. You want to impress people? Impress them with your library. You want to impress people? Impress them with what you read, and you can quote bibliographies, put notes from what you read, and the context and what it means vis-a-vis what we are as people today, and the mistakes that we made in order for us to be in this situation. Otherwise, I don't watch YouTube videos. So, I'll leave you with that. If you have a couple questions before I exit, I'm more than happy to.
Out of our many conversations, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to answer this question for the sake of those who are listening. Do you feel that just like there was a takeover of rap music, they got rid of Public Enemy, but they brought in NWA and all the other examples, 1989, 1990, we were becoming too conscious through the music. And to me, I'm going to interject this. We go through cycles where we rise up in consciousness and then something comes in to bring us down into a place of sport and play. You see? Do you think that the government and these people who run Hollywood in conjunction together have an interest in controlling the minds of Black people by employing YouTube stars that are controlled and there to break us down with the foolish arguments that they bring up to create these trends and to create these mindsets? Are there people out here, a lot of them we know, that came first with righteousness and have degraded down into decadence, especially when we have Black men who are against Black women, and we have some of these sisters that vehemently are against all things Black manhood? You see what I'm saying? Everybody's not connected to the government or controlled, but there are many out here. Do you think this is true?
Well, I think it's a different way to look at that. I remember what Malcolm said about history, right? So let's see, and also remember what I said 10 minutes ago as it related the activity of these YouTube stars to rap stars in the 80s and early 90s. Mm-hmm. At first, they started off by talking about themselves, and then they built up the following, and then the music was co-opted. The music was co-opted and was driven into space. But let's look at that. Then let's look at this, and this will be the answer to addressing your question. Is that not only did the rappers have these colorful names, as KRS-One talked about. These YouTube stars get colorful names, don't they? None of them use their names. Right. My name is Ron Jones. My name is. They use names like, my name is NR. Stuff like that, right? Right. So they actually, and here, and I don't want to shock you, but I would tell you that there was conscious music that emerged in the Black Power struggle in the 1960s and in the 1970s. Go back and listen to the music. Go back and listen to Gil Scott, The Last Poet. Go back and listen to,
of course,
even Flying the Family Stone and The Fifth Dimension, and even the Philadelphia Sound. That even though they were talking about love, but they were talking about the Black family. That was revolutionary.
That's right.
So to say that, rap was this big savior, it's going to drive us into consciousness and revolutionary. No. If you look at rap music, even in its heyday, being when it emerged in this embryonic stage until the mid 1980s, it was always around Bible. It it wasn't about attacking the system. Even when NWA emerges in the early 90s, they talk about attacking other black people.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, Lance,
Yes.
the new rappers are YouTubers. They will eventually be co-opted and move to the mainstream. I was arguing this point a year ago when Kevin Samuels emerged. With over 1 million subscriptions on YouTube in a very short time.
Serious.
I think this guy's all polished up. He's getting ready to go mainstream. They're gonna make him the next Black Oprah. Then he died, but I'm
Right.
telling you,
Right.
telling you where that was
Right.
going.
Right.
Then once it goes there, then they're gonna couch it, can it, and wrap it up, put a bow on it like they want to present it. I mean, it's just the way it's going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, bro.
That's true.
So,
Speaking of Kevin Samuels,
yeah, I want, but I don't want. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, speaking of Kevin Samuels, you know, he transitioned and everything, but people were listening. You know, many women were very angry at his delivery and maybe some of the things he said, but as far as accountability, or as far as his whole platform, 1 to 100, how much would you say was necessary and true? Because it was basically, we know when you're on YouTube, some of these guys are going to spice it up, you know, what's your height, what's your weight, no, you know, but really, if we had more men who in our community who are upstanding, I'm not saying yay or nay, but just taking from his presence and his controversial responses, if we had more men who may have been, because he could have been, the way he spoke was how a lot of grandfathers spoke back in the day. Girl, that skirt is too short. Ain't no man gonna want to marry you. You know what I mean? He gonna take you as something for one night. But now it's like many don't want to hear even the truth of what he had to say. But he definitely struck a nerve.
Okay, so
right.
Okay, so in this Kevin Samuels and this whole red pill community, I'm gonna say 3 things. One is a revelation, right? So the first thing I'll say is this: that Kevin Samuels' content was visited over 30 years ago by Shahrazad Ali.
Exactly.
And so she's on Donahue. She's on Sally, Bessie, Raphael. You remember those shows?
Yeah, I met her 2 years and 3 years ago. Yeah.
To take that. So his message and this whole red pill message, she's one of the forerunners to it. She emerges because she was conscious enough to see a problem amongst other Black women. I thought the message coming from her as a Black woman was a lot more creditable, and it could be received better. But actually, it wasn't received in the early 1990s or late 1980s when she emerged with her stuff. It wasn't received, right? So that's one thing, right? When I talk about Kevin Samuels and the basis of that message, it wasn't new. It was hers. Secondly, I thought that if he, in terms of percentage of what, you asked me percentages of what was acceptable and to me in this message, I thought that if he was given some time and he was going in the direction of putting together a team that was analytical and he could stay independent and he could reconstruct his message in the context of the Black liberation struggle, both historical as well as the cultural analysis, then he could have made a real impact. I doubt that he would have went in that direction. I think that he would have just continued to stay in the space that he was comfortable in and successful in, and maybe branched out a little bit, to make that space even bigger. But because his message lacked the context of the Black liberation struggle, is historical analysis and the cultural analysis of where we are today. So that made it thin. So somebody like me, I could listen to Kevin Samuel say, "Oh yeah, okay, he stole that sister that she wasn't. She thought she was a 9, and really she was an adjustable 4, adjustable 5." It's kind of funny, because I don't really get into that because his taste and what he found to be attractive might be different than what Lance finds to be attractive in a woman. Might be different than what Malik finds to be attractive in a woman. I write in my book, "From the Soul of a Conscious," back in 2009, of a situation I saw on a L train in Chicago. Anybody know the trains in Chicago? When they go underground, the lights kind of cut off a little bit, right?
Same in New York.
Split second, right? And they come back on. New York, same way, right? So one day I'm riding the train and I'm downtown, and we go. I don't know whether it's going north side or the west side or whatever, but it goes on to one of those tunnels. And there was a couple, just a young little high school age couple who suffer from what we call Down syndrome, or what I call up syndrome. But they kind of like all look alike, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little 16-year-old boy, 16-year-old girl. They riding the train together. They come from school or whatever, and the train goes underneath, and for that split second, the light cuts off, and they sneak a kiss to each other. And then when the lights come back on, they sit back up straight. They did this, for the continuation of the ride. Now, what that told me, and I write this about in the book, that to them, that's the most beautiful, attractive people in the world. When he goes to bed at night, he dreams about her, right? He can't wake up. He wakes up in the morning, and he cannot wait to call her, and then meet her at the bus stop so they can get back on that train again, right? Now, so the whole thing about, what are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Kelly Rowland is a 9, and you can't choose 7 and all that. That's his shit, okay? That ain't my shit. And I surmise that it's not your shit either, okay? So our desire, standard of what we find attractive, and that was one of the big bases of the shows. It's like telling girls, that they ain't fine, and now you ain't a 9 or 10. He doesn't even have that conversation. One of the big problems we have as a people is based upon our level of consciousness, it will determine, what we find beautiful. I.e., white women at the top, and the darker ones. I grew up the darkest one on the block. Definitely the darkest one in my house. Darkest one in that whole town. It was me, right? So I know all about that. So yeah, I take that with a grain of salt. But I do think that his red pill argument, which emerged from Shahrazad Ali and her works in the late 1980s and 1990s. Go back and look at her stuff. It's the same stuff, right? But I thought it was more effective coming from a Black woman who lived it, and also who was conscious in terms of our struggle, and who was part of our struggle organizationally. Member of the Nation of Islam, right? Back during the Malcolm days and all that kind of stuff. That Black women should be able to check other Black women, and that's a conversation that they need to have amongst themselves about, and I said I was going to, the third piece of that was going to be a revelation. Here it is. So the last relationship I had a few years ago, the sister would always have her breast out, her butt out, wearing flimsy clothes, just doing all kind of stuff that I felt very disrespectful to someone who is as committed to marriage. Gave a ring, never married, but committed to the process of seeing that through.
Right.
That she was acting like a hussy, not only in my dress, but some other stuff too that I don't care to mention, but I kind of think you get the picture. And then when I checked her, you don't tell me what I did. Oh, okay, all right, give me that ring back. And I left out, and she ain't seen me since. Okay. So I said, okay, I'm not going to tell you. All I said was, we're going to the store. You dress like you're around the house. I said, can you put on something a little more modest? Just like that. You don't tell me what they went. Okay, get my ring back. All 3 carats of that motherfucker. So if you're not, not really, bro. So, so sisters need to check other sisters. Now, we do, as men, should reserve the right and the ability to check our woman if we've committed to them. That, you know, I'm here for marriage. Is that ring? You know, I'm paying your mortgage. I'm taking care of your 3 kids that ain't mine by the 2 baby daddies. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, your refrigerator broke? Oh, don't worry. I get one delivered the next day, $2,100. Oh, and by the way, I'm putting all the food in it every month. No problem. And when I ask you at the end of it, can you wear something a little more modest? You don't tell me what? Okay, get my motherfucking ring back. You know, I'm from Chicago. I can get down and dirty with you, but I'm not. But also I went to college, you know, so I sat on some of the leading professors in Black America, so I know how to talk too, right? I met with 3 presidents to advise them on African affairs, so I'm sure we can, you know, do that. President Rollins in Ghana in 1991 and 1992 looked at my project as related to the unity of Black America and Asante Kwame Nkrumah's vision of Pan-Africanism and dual citizenship. I was there at the presidential palace as the clock ticked over to 1992. I met with Omar Hassan al-Bashir in 2007. I led a delegation of Black people there as we talked about the West and its plans to split up Sudan, and using the hype over a fake situation and skirmish that took place in Darfur to exacerbate that because they wanted the oil in the South. We warned them that it would create a civil war. When we sat down with him with our delegation, after he said "Salaam alaikum," the next thing he said is that by African intelligence, they have, and this is 2007, May, that they have information that it was the United States government through the CIA that planted aid in Africa.
Wow.
Twice to the Obama White House in 2011, May, and then November, check the log. So, you know, I know how to talk.
you're definitely, you know,
and I know
you're one of the million.
I know how to do relationships. My mother and father went to the high school prom together. Later that year, after they graduated at 17, they married and they started their family, and they married for 40 years until he buried her.
Wow.
I know how that's done too.
Wow. See, yeah.
So I think that this is less interpersonal. And at this point, in order to begin to solve our problem, and it's more at 30,000 feet. But we have to give the sisters an audience and a basis for the inclusion to make this right. And at the same time, sincere discussion and debate that must go on first with Black men amongst themselves, Black women amongst themselves, and then coming together in order to come with some solutions to our problem. I'm calling for a national conference on what I think is a key crisis in Black life, and that's the culture crisis. The subset to that is Black male-female relationships.
We need to do that, definitely, to face that. Look,
but
you just put it down in a way that, you know, you brought it back. Most of the YouTubers and social media folks, they stay on the surface of what's now, but they don't really go to the root why we are the way we are today. And it's a never-ending thing. Because
those are the new rappers. You ever heard any of these YouTubers cite their research?
Never. What you just said, they would never do that. They just come off and see. It seems as though they just want to appeal to a certain segment, keep them emotional, and keep the Cash App and PayPal flowing. But you never come to a solution. And then on the other side, this is the way it is. Yeah.
one of the issues that has allowed us to get at this sunken place, because phenomena don't emerge on their own out of a vacuum. I mean, they're there for a reason, and the reason is this. Yeah, social media created, a street for them to walk down and display the goods on. But the biggest issue is our failure during the 1990s to begin to transition Black leadership. So for the first time now, we're sitting at a generation that Black leadership was not transitioned to since slavery. Post-slavery, the transition of Black leadership always took place. The handoff of the baton to the next generation with new ideas, supporting the past and the history of our struggle has always took place. Until now. You can't even point to a Black liberation movement or struggle on the scene today. You can't. There's no organization. There's nothing.
You're right.
Because why? Go back and we could do a whole show on it. Go back and study the breakdown of the passing of that baton, which is the transition of Black leadership in the mid-90s and the early 2000s that didn't happen, which there's nothing in place organizationally to check what you see on the social media stuff. So they're allowed to just do their thing.
But it's a
first time in our history.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
First time in our history that Malcolm talked about this at Berkeley in 1963 in an interview, 1963, 1964. He said that 1963, I think it was. He said that that the power structure goes to athletes and entertainers and calls them leaders, and he started naming them. He said if you look at other people, particularly white people or any other group, especially in the other press group, forget about the power group. They don't have singers and athletes and entertainers as their leaders speaking for them. No other people in the history of the world who were oppressed had athletes and entertainers as their leaders. Where? Show me the struggle. Show me the struggle in Kenya and the Mama. Show me the struggle with Nkrumah in 1957 in Ghana. Where are the athletes speaking for the people? Are you kidding me? Denzel Washington don't speak for us. Leo don't speak for us. Why new rappers can emerge because there's nothing to check them.
Yeah.
There's nothing in place to check it.
When you look at it now, speaking about the rappers, the YouTubers now who have so much influence, and how we look to the YouTubers and social media, so-called iconic, which they're not. But I'm gonna call a name. You have
no, don't call names.
Okay, I won't call names. Okay, but
let's deal with.
Right. Okay. But
and pardon me for calling the names. I was guilty of that. I want to apologize for that. But go ahead.
No. That's okay. You have free reign here, brother. Because when you speak, you put it down, and you bring years and years and decades of hands-on experience and research. And so, like I said, you've checked me in the past, and I have to sit down and obey it because what you're saying is right. We may not be too much difference in age, but you're my elder in those respects, where I have to honor and respect you. I'm going to respect you anyway, but it's a real gift to have you here today, and those who are here need to know that, because they'll never put you out there in a mainstream platform because they're not gonna like what you have to say. But I learned today. But we have those who go from one manifestation to the next. I'm not going to call any names, but back in the day, we were talking the pimp talk, and now we're talking black talk. And in our black talk, we may put out our DVDs and get known for them. And then we make these organizations that basically say, hey, we in America have nothing to do with Africans in Africa. We're not connected to them. When it comes time for reparations, it's us. We need the reparations. It's ours because the Africans didn't do it. The Jamaicans, the Caribbean didn't do it. We're not a part of that. And the followers will go against anybody who speaks about Pan-Africanism or anything because no. My group here, this is what it's all about. Then you have other groups who will say, oh, we're indigenous. We have nothing to do with Africa. We know Black men and women have been all over the planet. This is all planet. And if there is documentation, which there is, they're not going to show it.
Dr. Conrad Worrell, before his death, about a year and a half ago, he talks about we're living in an age. I had this discussion with him over breakfast about what you're talking about. He said we're living in an age of what I talked about that is non-academic and anti-intellectualism among Black people. He was very, very troubled by this. And I think that to take the works of and it's now I don't know why his name. They came before Columbus. To take the works of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus, which shows that Africans were in the United States, in the Western Hemisphere, in the Southern Hemisphere, prior to Western imperialism and its embarkation of 1492 and Christopher Columbus. And to say that this is where we were from, it's ahistorical. It's anthropological, So the study of African people is interdisciplinary. It's a study of sociology. It's a study of genetics and science. It's a study of history. It's a study of anthropology, etc. Right? And so I've seen these people, take that and they got some Facebook page with over 30,000 Black people on it saying that we ain't from Africa, from America, So yeah, you see that old McHead down in South America, he blaze a Black man. That means we were here. We didn't come from Africa or no place. So what about all of the millions of people, millions and millions and millions, over a period of 300 years, by the way, that came from Africa through the European slave trade, ended up in not only North America, but also South America and the Caribbean. What about all these people? Where did they come from? That just didn't happen. So all of a sudden, you Indian, you Cherokee, now you stupid. And you could sell that Black inferiority to somebody else, but I ain't buying it. Don't pull that stuff over on us. And where social media has allowed them to flourish, because let's say prior to the internet, they wouldn't have walked into a workshop or a conference of scholars who just got through debating issues and brought up something like that. They'd have been worn down and, hey, you better take a seat. They still won't do that today, which is one of the flaws of, I got 1 million followers, or I got 100,000 subscriptions on social media. They cannot walk off the social media platform into the hood with Ray and them and Keisha and them, right? And build and export that. They can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, no. Sorry. You can't do it, right? So, give you an example. In 1982, down at the Conrad Hilton Hotel, February 27th, 1982, Minister Louis Farrakhan gave a speech during his Savior's Day, and in walked half of the west side of Chicago. He had never been downtown. And on the other side of the room were 1,000 El Rukins from the south side of Chicago, from the hood.
Right.
You think these social media tidbit, stars are able to organize a conference and workshops and have people attend? I'm talking about Ray right now, because that's our struggle. Teaching them is our struggle, right? Teaching them don't even have internet access.
Exactly.
Get out of here. So, like one of these people who got 1 million followers and have them show up on 4030 Indiana. I'm holding a conference tonight at 7 o'clock to see how many people show up. About the same amount of people that showed up for Brittany Griner in our hometown, college town down in Texas last week. Oh, it's 20, by the way.
Wow.
You know, so yeah, man, you can't do fake love.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because as soon as we get to the Q&A, you're getting ready to get the business. Yeah. So, anyway.
Man, digest that. You know, you have a good meal and you're sitting down, you push from the table like, I got more to eat, but that was good. Let me just sit here and digest this.
But there has to be return to the recognition and study of our scholars in order for us to come up with the proper analysis and both social and political analysis. One of the foremost political theoreticians that we have is Omali Yeshitela, chairman of the Uhuru movement, down in St. Petersburg, Florida. Also, I think in St. Louis, Missouri. Everybody should be dialing into his analysis. His political analysis is the analysis. As he talks about African internationalism. But do the people know about Chairman Omali Yeshitela?
Nope.
Maybe some, you know. But we should be building a movement around him.
Exactly.
Robert Ben Wahad, one of the former Panther 21, who served 18 years on false charges on that asylum secure thing. One of the most foremost political theoreticians that we have among us. We should be building a movement around him. Do people know who he is? Maybe a few. Dr. Moefe Asante, one of the leading cultural nationalists that we have. And Pan-Africanists. We should be building the movement around his analysis, especially when it comes to analysis of, you know, these white-wing talking points around slavery. You know, black people enslaved themselves. They sold each other. That's bullshit. But unless you understand the context of history and what took place and who benefited by the European trade slaves, then you won't know. You won't even know how to deal with that other than accept, you know, the BS that they gave you. If you ever catch anybody repeating that, you firm to me. You know?
But nobody's going to follow behind the aforementioned individuals because they have a huge social media following. It's like when people see numbers, then all of a sudden it's like they give you this respect. It's crazy. Like,
yeah.
You know, I was at the Black Star Festival over the weekend, and there were 53,000 people there, you know, and there are different takes on it. And I understand too. And I was led to understand that there was something bigger behind it, possibly down the line that, you know, for me to see so many black people together and not one incident of violence and just love, you know, even though they were playing music, you know, between the acts and different things, just to see that with no tension. It reminded me of back in the days. I stepped on an individual's foot and he shook my hand and hugged me and said, "It's okay, brother." I'm like, "What?" Go ahead, brother. What you were going to say?
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, it kind of reminds me of the Million Man March back in October 1995, where you had, you know, almost 2 million black men. And literally, I got to tell you, I was there. It had to be about 50,000 black women, man. That goes unreported. But let me tell you something. I was with Minister Farrakhan's former national secretary, Wahid Muhammad, and we were scouring the crowd in the early morning looking for Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who was one of my teachers, right? Who just had a birthday yesterday. The late great Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who passed away February of 2001.
Yes.
Now, we didn't find Dr. Khalid, but anyway, we're walking. We walked from the stage all the way to the back end of the Million Man March, right? So millions of people. Anyway, and it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm standing there with Whitehead, and we just turn around, kind of look and see if we got the collar, you know. And this white boy, he's in shorts and the t-shirt, and he's riding his bike through the Million Man March. Now this man is like, no, he was jogging through the Million Man March. Now that might have been his route, that he jogged every day, you know. He lived in the city, but today he's gonna jog through the Million Man March, even though he knew it was there. Not only was it total disrespect, but it shows you what they actually thought about us. The third thing I said, the third thing I want to add to this is that I turned to Whitehead and I said, bum rush that motherfucker right now, boy. You know, but Whitehead told me, he said, man, if you did that, he said, that's all going to be on the news tonight.
Exactly. Helicopters.
Breaking news, CNN, Don Rogers, a student at Georgetown University, was just jogging his regular route. It happened to be the Million Man March, Bob. And I tell you, those radicals that was that hurricane, they jumped him, they beat him. Now he's in the hospital. He's on life support.
They're not going to say. They're not going to say the minister's name right. They're going to jack a Farrakhan or whatever they're going to say.
Wait. Listen. If I told you how close I was to just taking off and bum rush, that's how close that story was. I just got to tell you that would have been CNN and Fox that night. Man, I'm telling you, it was that close, bro.
I know you would.
So talk about those 53,000 people. Talk about those 53,000 black people at Black Star, you know, which is the moniker that the great Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey used, the Black Star Line. He was attempting to build an international Pan-African economic structure, infrastructure for black people. I'm happy to see that you know they're putting some respect on that name. Right. But what I'm less happy about, every time I see black people from America who go to Africa, particularly in Ghana and other places, all they're doing is partying. They're exporting the hood and what they do on a Friday and Saturday night over there, when they should be there for cultural expense. They should be there, you know, to build the relationships of what we lost in terms of our common culture and our mores, our value system. And their takeaway is when they're on that plane coming back from Accra to New York, man, I sure had a good time flying. You know, down and get funky. That's true. That's going to take your body. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, did you see Kwame over there? Oh, girl, I like Kwame now. Kwame now, man, you see how you feel like Mike Tyson, girl. Oh man, did you see Ashante? I'm a Shante. Next time I go back there, I'm going straight to Kumasi.
You're right. I wish you were there to be able to say that, because there were. That's what was going on too. Yeah. Like let's do this over here. What we do over in the hood over there.
So in my book in 2009. I talked about solution. And one of the things that I came up with in order to import the culture of Africa that'll put us in a position to win back in the black community in the United States, it must be done through marriage. Not marriage of brothers and women from the African culture, continent, but through sisters seeking brothers for marriage from the African continent. Bring those brothers back here, plant them in the community, and generationally, the culture would change. Dr. William Saffold talks about a theory of the African bull elephant. The African bull elephant on the continent, and the study was done when he had 10 or 15 other baby African bulls around him, all male. And when he was in the circle, when he was in the community, it was order, respect, everything. They pulled the male out, the elder out, the male figure out of the circle. And within minutes, there was chaos. There was disrespect amongst the baby bulls. They were fighting each other to the tooth. Does it sound familiar? Does it sound familiar?
Big time.
So when they put him back into the circle, within minutes, order had returned.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I argue that the manhood of Africa that has not been disrupted only by colonialism, but they still kept their name. For the most part, they still kept their religion. They kept the food that they ate. They kept their mores and the value system. It's still in place. It must be imported through marriage from Black women who are hyper single in this country, and brothers from the African continent will make great husbands for them. And generationally, it will change our reality, or help change our reality in the Black community and what you now know as the hood. Single Black women just seek out brothers from the African continent. You got over 50 countries to choose from. Have at it. And those brothers want to marry right away. I'm not fooling with you.
Right.
They ain't dating you no 6 months. They're not going to date you no 6 years. They ain't trying to move in your house, and they want married as soon as they get here. Okay? So now you got a husband.
Mm-hmm.
And you can pick from anything you like, all the way from Morocco, all the way down to Zambia, all the way over to the east of Kenya, back up to the Sudan. Have at it. But sister, solutions, broaden your perspective. Anyway.
Beautifully said.
I hope that
oh man, you knocked it out.
That I was able to add to the conversation, and if you got a question or two before I go, I'd be more than happy to address that.
Yes.
And we can go from there.
Yes. It's how do we in America and the UK and places like that, how do we go about ridding ourselves of the Eurocentric mindset that we've come up under, some of us, not all of us, right? How do we get rid of that? It's like clogging our filters. And even if we get around a good, because it's keeping us, it's a barrier. You see? How do we rid ourselves? How do we heal ourselves and get away from that? Not just by throwing on the dashiki and taking a trip to the motherland to party, but how do we really get ourselves away from that so we can be receptive to the right things that'll bring our community back together in time?
So one of the mistakes that we do as we do Black liberation is think in terms of right away in terms of mass movement. First, we need a critical mass, not a mass movement. Mass movements are essential, right? Where there has to be mass education, a mass consciousness distributed, right? But it starts with a critical mass. And when you have a critical mass, hey, I tell people all the time, I roll in any town, and I got 20 brothers. Don't worry. When we leave that Saturday evening, all they're going to be talking about for the next week is Malik Aziz and them brothers.
That's right.
Right? So the impact of a critical mass, we don't need 200,000. We really need 20. Okay? 20 thinkers, 20 tacticians, 20 strategists, and we can get a lot done. Same with sisters, right? When you employ sisters as part of the Black liberation struggle, you employ doers. I argue back in the early 2000s, when you build an organization, you might want to do it about 70% women, black women, and about 30% black men. Why? And I explained in a conference on this, because sisters ain't come to no meetings just talk. They come to the meeting with a pad and a pen and action items. Here's what we need to do. Here's the 5 things we need to do, and who's going to have them by the next meeting, when we're going to meet, and here's the time. You understand what I'm going with this?
Yes.
Doers. This is the doers. They get things done. I've been to meetings, brothers, just talk. Bro, hold on, man. You don't talk right through lunch. So it has to be an inclusive movement, from both sides, male and female. Our sisters have great ideas, great input, right? We have to facilitate that, and if they need to be in the forefront. You ever heard Shirley Chisholm speak? Go back and look at some of her stuff. Dr. Ivy Carruthers. Go back and look at some of her stuff. Asada Shakur. Been forced in exile. Go back and read some of her stuff, bro.
You blanked out for a second, brother. I don't know if this is the phone connection, but it blanked out.
What is the last thing you heard?
No, when you said about Asada Shakur, and go back and listen to some of her stuff.
Yeah, that was the last thing I said.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll take one more question for you, then we can close out.
Okay. 2023. We know we've been through hundreds of years of indoctrination and punishment and trauma, and it's going to take time for us to get rid of it. What I take from you is that we need to go and read and research and see the real causes of everything. We don't have any libraries anymore. We have the internet, and the internet can be manipulated. Things can be removed. Things can be there and not displayed because they don't want us to see it. Books. We need books. How do we get our people to get into more books? Because you see, it's so easy to find the internet and get distracted by somebody twerking or some dude with a six-pack and the women are looking at him. How do we get ourselves to get back into more books? Should we form our own book clubs? Should we get a book and share books? How do we get more of our people into reading of books? Because it's been proven that when you read out of a book, you retain the information even more so, as opposed to sitting in front of the blue light of a computer. How do we get back more to books? Because the black bookstores have all but vanished these days.
I like the idea. I like the idea of book club, right? Sisters are doing this. Now, one of the things that we have to address is the material, right? I mean, you're just reading Terry McMillan in your book club. We ain't getting nowhere with that shit. You understand where I'm going, right?
Yes.
So I like the idea of book clubs. I like the idea of as we engage in debate, away from emotionalism, that we challenge the person up front. As I talked to you earlier in this conversation, ask them, what are you reading, and what period are you reading from? Very quietly, you will find a total shift in that conversation. So as we begin to put that academia and scholarship more to the forefront, then the Black intelligence will emerge again. Right now, it is absent. Again, one of the things that disturbed Dr. Conrad World before his death was the level of anti-intellectualism. As you look at this ADOS and FBL crowd that's out there, that's incredible. The level of anti-intellectualism and anti-academia that we've engaged in.
Yes.
And you ask these people who Padmore was, they don't have a clue. But you're going to discard Pan-Africanism? Africanism was born outside of Africa. There's a reason for that.
That's right.
It was born down in the Caribbean and in this hemisphere. Why? Because of what happened in 1884 to 1887. What happened in 1884 to 1887? European colonialism, European domination of not only Africa, but the entire Muslim world.
Mm.
So Africa under pressure from European colonialism allowed Pan-Africanism to emerge. And that's what happened at the Fifth Pan-African Conference in 1945. It wasn't an accident that 15 years later you had the year Africa. 2/3 of Africa is free. That came from the outside. Yeah, so we must engage in honest and sincere debate in order to raise the level.
Yes.
If you read my book, From the Heart of a Conscious Soul, My Love for Nadash, Black Love Story, we need to get back to love. And we loved in the 19th. We loved in the 19th. Did you listen to that music? The OJ?
Oh, right.
Jackson? I mean, you know, to the Michael Jackson stuff, the Jackson 5, all that stuff was love.
It
I
was.
want you back. Yes,
Yeah.
I do now. You're just telling the girl I want you back.
Right. I know. That's the era.
Jermaine Jackson, Jermaine's first single. I found that girl. Telling a story to his mother that I found that girl. Mama, light for me now. It's a new sensation. I mean, love music, bro.
For real. That's what I'm all about, man. I miss those days.
Bootsy Collins and funk in the late 1970s. Huh? I'd rather be with you. Yeah. Girl, I'd rather be with you. Love music, bro. We need to get back to loving.
Let me be your rocking chair. Rock me everywhere. Let's get it on.
Turn out the light and light a
candle. Close the door.
Ooh,
and they said it decent too. You know what I mean?
What?
Do it. Yeah, do it, baby. And see, we didn't know what they were doing. We thought this kids would.
Donna Summers emerged just moaning.
Love to love you, baby.
Wait, top of the chart.
Right? Major Harris. Love won't let me wait. The time is
1976.
right.
1976, Rolls Royce.
Oh,
love music.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, 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 boom. Time on my hands since you've been away, boy.
I'm going down.
Hey.
Back to me, man. I love you so much. I can't get my eyes. I can't do nothing. I'm going down.
But check it out.
Music, bro.
Check it out. If they made I'm Going Down in 2023, they'll talk about a whole different thing.
What emerged after the 70s love music in the 80s? Let me tell you who emerged. Black female vocalist.
Yeah.
Russian.
Oh, yeah.
Stephanie Mills. Anita Baker.
Never knew love like this before. Sweet love. For real. That's all it was.
So you know, I mean, that emerged. It emerged because a reason. Music doesn't emerge in a vacuum. It emerges out of the community, out of the people.
Yes.
Angela Winbush. Remember her?
Mm-hmm.
Alexander O'Neill. Brother,
used to have good love. Looked around and now it's gone. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Want to give a shout out to Black and Noble. Black and Noble's in the house.
And going back to the 70s.
He just donated.
Going back to the 70s.
Yeah.
Going back to the 70s, in the love music era, and why that's so important, and how that has to be part of the correction,
right,
and the healing that goes on. Look at Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, we're talking reason, love, and devotion. Listen, when I was in the 8th grade or 9th grade or something, I would listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then I call the girl on the phone, and then I go, "Hey," she go, "What's on your mind?" I go, "I'm looking for love and devotion." And then I'm 14 years old.
Right.
Love and devotion.
Boom, 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 boom. Man, you can't tell me. I was right there, brother.
But this is part of the healing that comes from the culture concept and the culture consciousness.
Yes.
Our music reflects the level of consciousness of the people, and right now we're at an all-time low.
That's right.
So what emerges? Trap music.
Never ever gonna give you up. I ain't never ever gonna stop the way I feel about you. I ain't never gonna quit. See, we can't heal off of a hijack culture.
This is part of the healing process, common culture.
Yes.
You look at common culture, before we were arguing in the 1980s and we turned to it because we saw it slipping away. Our scholars did. James Johnson, lift every voice and sing. All 3 stanzas. Common culture. Right?
Wow. You know I'm gonna break out with some songs for the rest of the day.
Anyway, you should. I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes. And if you got anybody in your audience who would like to follow up and let's do some constructive, let's do some progressive to begin to solve our problems, come up with solutions, have them reach out to Lance. Lance should reach out to me.
Yes. And
let's start it. I do like the idea of a book club, which nobody is doing, that you and I can kind of spearhead. Let's start a book club, but let's do a book club show, right? Online, where we have subscribers, right, who are actually a part of the book club, and they get a chance to have the interjection in the book of the month that we're reading from.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So this is progressive, and you have to have a platform where everybody gets involved. It cannot be a monologue. I hate monologues.
Yeah, yeah. But we got to start somewhere, and
I have ideas out there.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely want Black and Noble to be there. Black and Noble. He's here, and I want you to reach out to me, brother, Black and Noble. But this is what the platform is here for, brother. It's pliable. You bring the ideas. I don't have the depth of knowledge. I can study from here to kingdoms come. You have so much of a head start. We're on the same team. It's not a competition. So I benefit from what you put in. And I'm thankful to you that way to come in and share that and drop that. Anytime, you know me, I'm like a fireman. You call me with an idea, we're going to be on within the next 10 minutes if I'm home. And most of the time I'm home. So, this is a platform that we're going to do it with, but don't hesitate. Just tell me, let me know what you want to do. You know what I mean? And that's what we do.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, the last thing I said, in the name of Chokwe Lumumba, Free the Land, in the name of Dr. Conrad Worrell, our struggle is for the minds of Black people. In the name of Fred Hampton, Black Power, the Black people. Peace, bro, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Brother Malik. Just want to let you know, too, that on the LANCESCURV app, you have a little button with your face on it, man. All the shows we've ever done, if you go to the LANCESCURV app and download it, you'll see all the wonderful individuals who we've done shows with. Malik Aziz has his own button there. You hit it, and every show that we've done, it will take you to that on a playlist, and you can listen to all the old stuff. And I'm going to include this one in it also, even though we didn't plan on having you on. When you come on, this is family. It's home for you. So this is going to be one of the shows that we put on immediately after. And thank you so much. And what can I say? I'm going to end it right here. We're going to end it on a high note. Black and Noble, reach out to me. Everybody reach out to me. Thank you so much. We're going to continue this, and we're going to do our morning shows Monday through Friday, and there'll be all kinds of other content, but this will be the backbone as it was before. Thank you so much, my brother. And hit me up when you can. I know you're a very busy man. Okay, brother. Thank you so much.
John Hawkins showed up in our country, telling us of a land filled with luxury. He said, black man, follow me to America. There you'll find more gold for your labor. Our foreparents were tricked onto his boat. Since that time we've been wrestling with the goat. We landed here in Jamestown, Virginia, 400 years to suffer. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is black man hell. When the slave master wanted to have some sport, he would heap on our parents' cruelties of the worst sort, burn them at stake, hang them on trees. His ears were deaf to our parents' pleas. Though you were pregnant, black woman, you pull the plow. Like a horse, like a dog, even a cow. He filled your womb with his wicked seed. His half-white children you were made to breed. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell. So-called Negro, open up your eyes. Black man everywhere is on the rise. He has kicked the white man out of Asia, and he's going fast out of Africa. With every ounce of strength and breath, his cry is give us liberty or give us death. The whole black world has their eyes on you to see what the so-called Negro is going to do. So my friend, it's easy to tell. Our unity will give the white man hell. God made a promise to Abraham. His seed would be a stranger in a foreign land. They would suffer and be afflicted 400 years, but he would come, wipe away their tears. Our God and Savior, Allah has come. He has declared the white man's day is done. He has given us a divine messenger, one prophesied to come. His name is Elijah. We now can stand up, the whole world to tell. Our God has come to give us heaven and take the devil into hell. Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we deaf? Why are we lost? Why is everybody making progress? Of our names, our language, why are we called so far behind? Why are we deaf? Why are we lost? Why is everybody making progress? Of our names, our language,